This is Jamey with Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanisms in one of the newest Magic the Gathering sets, Forgotten Realms. I think it's Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. This is the Dungeons & Dragons theme set. I am not a person who has played Dungeons & Dragons, but I am aware of the world due to my love of Lords of Waterdeep, a tabletop game, and I was very curious to see how Magic implemented the theme of Dungeons & Dragons inside this world, and I thought they did a fantastic job of having a theme-driven set. I'll mention a few of the different highlights for me in those regards. One is that there are dungeons in this game. There are these dungeon cards that are always available, and there are many cards in this set that say, I believe it's delve into the dungeon, go into the dungeon. I don't know if I can find that, but it basically means at any given time you can have one character that kind of represents you, and they're in one of these dungeons, and they can move through the dungeons, gaining benefits and activating different things in one of these dungeons. I thought that was really cool. It's just a little thing off to the side that was happening, but it could add up to some big moments in the game where if you get to the end of the dungeon, a really cool thing could happen. So, for example, there's one dungeon that starts off very easy. You just scry one, then you have a choice. So there's a path choice here. You can either go to the goblin lair or mine some tunnels. Then you can go to the storeroom, the dark pool, the fungi cavern. And then if you get to the end, you can draw cards. This is a very easy dungeon to go through. There's a kind of a meaner dungeon that you could choose, and there's a longer one that has a bigger benefit at the end. Thought that was really cool, a really cool thematic element. Some artistic choices in the game I thought were really clever. This isn't a mechanical thing, but I thought it was really cool that they brought in some old school D&D art, kind of alternate art cards here. That was a really nice thematic touch, I thought. Even the lands. I hardly ever pay attention to the lands other than admiring the art in Magic the Gathering, but every land in this set has its own little story. So like this one, this is an island. This island says, as your ship clears the edge of Waterdeep Harbor, you notice pirate sails on the horizon. What has made them so bold? So it's these story beats attached to the lands, and I've never thought of lands having much of a story behind them. I thought that was really, really cool that they did that in this set. I also love, again, theme tied to mechanisms, cards like this. So cards like this, this says, you see a guard approach. Or this one, you're ambushed on the road. That's the name of the card. So this thing is happening to you. It's one of these encounters in D&D. And then you get to choose one. They give you multiple options. So like you see a guard approach, you could then distract the guard, or you could hide. I like those choices. I like that neither one of those choices is fight the guard too. You're given a choice there, and mechanically you can tap the creature. You can hide by giving a creature hexproof, or you're ambushed on the road. You can make a retreat, or you can stand and fight. I really, really like those thematic choices tied to the mechanisms in the game. What else here? We have some other examples of cards that I really thought were clever. There's one. Oh yes, the D20. I'll end with the D20 because this is. Oh no, there's two more things. One is that, so here's a treasure chest card here, nice foil treasure chest. This is a particularly fun one, because on most of these cards, basically, there's a certain point in the game. This one is, you have to sacrifice this treasure chest, you have to open it, essentially, or you have to roll a D20, a very Dungeons & Dragons type thing that you could do. And based on what you roll, you get different things. So like if you roll a 1 on this one, you're trapped. You lose 3 life. Most of these choices like this don't have a downside like that. I'm trying to find one. Like most of them are like, so like here's one. You can contact another plane. This one says 1 through 9, draw 2 cards. 10 through 19, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Or if you roll a 20, scry 3, and then draw 3 cards. So they're trying to get this idea of when you roll a 20, something really awesome happens. When you roll lower numbers, something less awesome happens, but there's still some level of predictability to it. This card's a little rare in that it has a bad thing if you roll a 1. If you roll a 2 through a 9, create 5 treasure tokens. 10 through 19, you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. Very, very good. For 20, if you roll a 20, search your library for a card. So it's like you've gotten the exact treasure that you want. If it's an artifact card, you may put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand and then shuffle. Just really cool card design. There is an element of randomness there, but for some reason I really liked it here. I like the idea of rolling a die and getting something cool, especially since there is still an element of agency to it. For most of them, I knew I was going to deal 5 damage or deal 5 damage and get this extra bonus, something like that. But I also love the fun of the extra bonus at 20. For some reason, I like this better than flipping coins in Magic. I never really liked the idea of flipping coins, but rolling a d20, I thought they made fun. And last, they included classes in the game. So these are enchantments. This is Barbarian class and Rogue class. And these are kind of things that let you level up throughout the game if you pay a cost. So I love this idea of gaining experience leveling up through within your class of choice if you play this card. And yeah, just a really clever way to have this level up mechanism of you have this one thing, and if you move up a level, you still have access to the previous ability, or that thing still applies, but you also get the next one. So for this barbarian class, at the top it says, if you would roll one or more dice, instead roll that many dice plus one and ignore the lowest roll. And then if you get to level 2, you still have that ability, but you also say, when you roll one or more dice, target creature you control gets +2 plus 0 and gains menace until end of turn. And then if you get to level 3, you get those two abilities plus creatures you control have haste. So you're kind of working your way up through these classes. I love the theme of it. I love how the theme is incorporated into the mechanisms on those class cards. There's more to love in this set. There's a lot of familiar names that I recognize, things like that. But I think those are my favorite mechanisms in this set of Magic the Gathering. I'd love to hear yours. What is your favorite mechanism in this new Magic the Gathering set? And if these remind you of any mechanisms that you love that tie kind of theme to mechanisms in other sets or other games, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below as well. Thanks.